This is the Nike Pegasus Premium. I am super interested in it because we have 3 different kinds of foam. You can see here, we have the Zoom X, an entire length air zoom unit, and then a small amount of React X here at the bottom of the shoe. And I am super curious how it feels because the shock absorbance numbers are huge on run repeat. It is a 42 millimeter stack height back in the heel, drops down to 32 in the forefoot for a 10 millimeter offset. And I'm just super interested in how this shoe feels. I know one of the guys I look up to in this space, Ioana, did a treadmill marathon in this shoe to cap off a 100-mile week running in only this shoe. And I am more than excited to get it on foot and get running in it. We will do our normal routine. We will get our mile at 10-minute pace, 8:30 pace, and then something sub 7-minute pace, depending on what the shoe gives me. The energy return numbers are actually pretty good. They're about in line with like a Super Blast. So that's pretty good, all things considered. Now, the really big knock I've heard on this shoe is the weight. It's coming in almost at 11 ounces, which is in fact really high. And the Pegasus line, in my mind, always feels like it should be going towards faster. The Vomero line, absolutely, we should be looking for comfort. I love the 18, I love the Vomero Plus because they're soft, they're nice, they're easy-going shoes. I'm hopeful this gives us some of that demon time look, and I'm curious. So the amount of force I have to put into this to make these units collapse at all is like really high. I had to like move to the edge here to get that to compress it all. So hopefully that if we compress that enough and that pop back makes it very fun. I have a total of 7 miles today, so after I go through my normal mileage, I'm going to go ahead and do the extra 4, maybe as much as 10 miles in total. We're going to go ahead and get it on foot, do a quick walk test, a quick squish test, and then I am excited to go ahead and get running. So as I said with the Alpha Fly, the Nike rep did see my Pegasus video and he was super helpful and hooked me up with these shoes. So this is not one that I had to purchase myself, but also it wasn't like you have to go make a video. So this will 100% be my normal thoughts, but I do think transparency is like super important. So yeah, didn't have to pay for these. Thank you, Nike. Let's go ahead and get them on foot. I did go size 12.5. That is what I normally do for Nike. The Vomero Plus, I did go with a 12 and that fit right, but I can already tell you this one feels pretty narrow up through here. And even sitting down, yeah, it's just making sure I did do 12.5. I can feel like I'm actually pretty dang close up here. If I scooch my heel back, we might be okay though. I will give you a close up there in just a moment. Now the upper is super interesting because it is super like airy. Like this is meshed pretty big. So like, again, similar to the Super Blast actually. It has holes so it looks like it'll vent well. And then I can actually see through the mesh here. I can see down into my sock. So very breathable upper, but like still pretty padded. Like this is a pretty thick tongue. Interesting with the Pegasus Premium going over, so I'm gonna have to tie the lace on top of that. And I think I'm gonna go ahead and preemptively runner's loop this. It doesn't feel like the most aggressive fit in the world. Laces are not very long. Also, they're not sawtooth laces, but they do actually feel like they grip on the lace itself pretty well. It's like pretty nicely textured, so I don't think the shoe coming untied will be a big issue at all. And as always, we'll go ahead and talk about where this shoe might fit in the rotation for you, if I think it's worth the price, although I didn't pay it. Like I pay attention to price and I look at shoe prices all the time, so looking at value, obviously something I do anyhow. And I'm always thinking like, with these shoes, if we don't carry them in the store already, is it something that I want to bring into the running shop? Laces are pretty dang short though, so if you are a runner's loop fan, you are not going to have a ton of extra room to do that. While I'm sitting down here, the fit is very snug, so I have a pretty standard width foot, so I'm not going to have any problems with it, I don't think. But it is not super accommodating if you need a wider fit. I don't know if this is going to be the right one for you. Let's go ahead and get a squish test here. The heel really smushes down. I don't know, it's got to be that layer of ZoomX that is super soft. It is not super stable in the back, but the forefoot is very solid, kind of giving that peg like it wants to pop back feel. Just keep that rolling the whole way. The transition is really nice. Like the heel is soft and wants to roll well, which I like. It is really narrow. I'm going to show you. It feels like it's kind of buckling on my foot down here as well. The fabric right here is kind of buckling, and I actually feel like I'm almost spilling over the side this direction, which is not something I normally feel like I run into. It almost feels like I'm trying to push myself over to the right, so I'm not. But then I do that and I've got plenty of space. I don't know, this feels like a weird fit. I don't know if I need to pull the laces in more. Let's do that. Let's see if pulling the laces in more helps. Because it is just this foot that's doing it. So maybe. I'll take that extra space. I didn't tighten up here a ton, but down here I can kind of just feel this connecting material. Okay, I'm gonna go out one more time. Now it feels a little tight on the top on the other side, but that's not bad. I don't know, it feels pretty good. It does not feel like it's 11 ounces. Like it feels like a lot of foam underfoot, but I think because it is narrow, it has this kind of like faster feeling vibe to it. So it feels nicely fitted. Actually, I feel like it would be a nice lifestyle option as well. Also, very cool. We got more Onto stuff in. So if you need a tank for the summer, this is actually super sick. It is definitely more that racing feel, but it is like incredibly lightweight. I did a super limited run of men's long sleeve shirts. I also did women's tanks, so the same exact material, but for ladies. And then also did women's t-shirts. So we are pretty well filled out on stuff for the moment. I'm really excited. Hopefully you guys are interested in some of the stuff. Let's go ahead and get into this first mile here though. So this is a really interesting feel. The forefoot feels very different than the rear part of the shoe. The heel is very soft, and I guess I kind of noticed it on that walk. The forefoot feels firmer. Somehow I think not having the ReactX below the heel is probably why, but I mean, it feels really nice. Does not feel heavy on foot, which I really like. I'll check in like a half mile. So we are working our way in here. We are right around our 10-minute pace, 0.6 of a mile in. And I kind of wish the whole shoe felt like the back part of the shoe. I think it will lend itself to going faster, the fact that it's not all the same. But I really like how soft the back is. The forefoot is like substantially firmer. Again, I think usually firmer means you can get more energy return back, but yeah, warm-up pace feels nice. It's not like when you're gonna step out of the car and go, ugh, I don't wanna put this on. So it feels really good, especially for heel striking right now. Right on pace, like a 9:56 mile. Very comfortable, felt like it was plenty easy to slow down in it or go a little faster. Honestly, a real slow shuffle, felt really nice. Interestingly, no stability problems. The walk step, I think, is just such a dramatic heel strike, and it's out in front of your body. It's just different than heel striking even when you're running slowly. You're a little in front of your center of mass, but not nearly as much as when you're walking. So no weird feels there. It didn't feel particularly inspiring. It is not like the Super Blast where any pace you put it on, you're like, wow, this is so light, this is so fun, this is so bouncy. It feels cushioned in the heel, forefoot again, pretty firm, man. I am interested hesitantly to see how it feels at our 8:30 pace and then our sub 7 minute pace. So we'll just go ahead and get right back into it. So you're about to get a pro and a con for this shoe. We'll start with the con. I'm rubbing on the inside of my right foot, same spot I showed you on the walk test, and I'm kind of rubbing same foot on my pinky toe. So I don't love that. I hope the upper kind of breaks in. I don't usually expect a ton of that, but I'm hopeful. The pro is we are cranking along and did not mean to at all. I noticed I was actually under 8 minute pace for a second, so I'm trying to slow it down, and it just feels like it wants to go. So that's cool. Very, 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 very smooth transition from the heel through to the forefoot on the shoe. Really like that feeling. I didn't actually make it very far before I had this thought pop into my head. You know how I said with the Alpha Fly, it feels like it takes time to figure it out, like how to run in that shoe? This feels like the opposite. I said really smooth, and I will say very smooth really early on in like running in the shoe. It just feels butter smooth, and I expected it to be kind of weird running in a shoe with that big of a zoom unit, and it's not at all. Very big thumbs up. We'll go ahead and finish this mile out. So we slowed it down there. We were good. We didn't keep pushing. I'm going to refer back to that super smooth feeling, but this upper is also really tough. I'm kind of feeling the top of my foot now, and it's probably because I tightened it up, but I tightened it up because I wanted it to fit on my foot better. So I don't know, I feel like I'm a little torn in that regard. Like the shoe, the foam feels really good. The forefoot is like, or the upper rather, is leaving a little bit to be desired. Given how I felt on that rep, I think it's going to feel really good going into the next one at sub 7 minute pace. Even I doubled yesterday, so I'm like a little tired, but warmed up well with those first two. I'm not going to go smash myself into the ground for time, but I'm really interested to see what this gives me. I didn't look at my watch on my last 3-way review video until I was beyond a half mile, and I think we're going to do the same thing, so I'm not like over analyzing how fast we're running. We're just going to feel something around threshold, which for me is something around 6:45, but like that sub 7 minute range I kind of equate with threshold-ish. So I'm just not going to look. I'm going to see what it feels like with a good decent push here, and we will check back in a half mile or so. Okay, so have not looked at the watch yet. This shuts off after about 3 minutes, and then I gave it a little more time. We've gone uphill, downhill, so I got some thoughts after this. We are at, pretty decent, 6:39, 6/10 of a mile in. Very okay with that. So 638 is pretty good. Not Evo SL land, and that's probably in part like a weight of the shoe thing, but I will reiterate, this does not feel heavy on foot. Feels like this would be a threshold banger. I like it at that pace there. I don't know if it's going to want to go faster. I will do some strides at the end just to give you an idea how it does. I don't know, under 6 minute pace, maybe something into the 4s. We feel good, so I might do like 2 strides. But I told you I had some thoughts. So said I was going uphill and downhill there, and going uphill was fine. Nothing super noteworthy there. Maybe a little heavier feeling because your foot feels like it's further back and you have to bring it up. So maybe a little bit heavier feeling on the ups. I also felt like my heel was slipping a little bit on the up because you usually go through a little bit bigger range of motion running uphill for your calf. So I don't love that. Like, I think the big limiting factor for this shoe is going to be the heel, especially at $220. I kind of want each one of those things to be pretty well locked in. Now, on the downhill, when I was heel striking a little bit harder, I do have to say it felt a little squirrely. I was just being like mindful with my foot placement on it. So, I don't know, take that for what you will. It still felt super smooth. Smooth factor's gonna stay a 10 for me across all that. I think I'm gonna really like this for my 8:30-ish pace stuff as well. I expect for the remaining between 4 and 7 miles I'm doing to be around that like 8:30-ish pace, maybe 9 minutes, just depending on how we feel. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the strides now. I will finish out the rest of my miles, then break down where this would fit in a rotation for you, if it's worth the price at $220, and my overall thoughts and feelings with it across all these different paces and how I'm going to end up using this shoe. So I'm gonna go this way. We're gonna get a couple of strides in, probably 2, literally a couple, and go from there. So that was 458, around 100 meters or so. Not quite, but we'll go ahead and go again a little faster. I don't think there's a ton to say about it, really. At that pace, it just kind of felt like a normal shoe. We'll go see if it's any different, if we get any more like real lively pop. I don't want smush when I'm doing these faster strides. I want it to feel like I hit the ground and it bounces right back. So it's like more of a collision rather than like the shoe deforms, absorbs some of that force and then trampolines back. That's not like as much of what I'm going for. Here I want it to be a hard bounce. So we'll see what happens at a little faster pace. Even into a headwind, that's 428 pace, probably a little bit of a grade upwards. Felt fine. I think the weight's probably the limiter on that. It just felt okay. Didn't feel like particularly great on either one of those. But again, I don't think that's where it's going to live. That is why I am interested and super excited for the Pegasus Plus 2, because I think it's going to be a little bit lighter weight and you get the zoom unit. I'm really excited for it. It feels kind of similar to a Blast Pod from like ASICS, what they're going to try and do with the zoom unit, I think. I'm really excited for that. For now, we'll just go ahead and finish out the run and break it down at the end. How are you?
You all right? How are you?
Good. Stopping real quick to put in a carbs fuel gel, 50 grams of carbs. This is not the sodium version that I was talking about the other day, which is rather sad. Realized the mic wasn't on, so hopefully that wasn't too bad. But yeah, the salt carbs fuel is way better than this one. This one is 50 cents cheaper, so it's $2 for 50 grams of carbs. It's just so hard to beat. Same consistency, flavor is just less salty, and the salt tastes good. So we'll go ahead and put this down. As always, very easy to go down. The flavor just tastes like sugar. The more I've had it, the more I've kind of gotten used to it. It just tastes very sugary, like almost eating a spoonful of white sugar. With that done, we'll go ahead and finish out the run. Oh, and as always, make sure both of these end up in the trash. So we'll go ahead and finish that out. We don't have this even plugged in yet, so we're going to skip that. What'd we end at? 8 miles, 8:42 average for the whole thing. Reasonably efficient and a good training load. All things we like to see. So let's go through the Nike Pegasus Premium. So I'm going to go ahead and take it off as I'm talking to you. This was a very interesting and kind of polarizing shoe, kind of in my opinion. So the midsole feels like it is just absolutely packed with tech. And I think if this shoe was like 8.5 ounces, I think this would be like one of the preeminent shoes out right now. I could see at a lighter weight and a little bit better upper, I could see it being a shoe people are using for all sorts of running, from daily miles up to even potentially racing. Like I could see if this was all Zoom X and a little better fitted, I could see it being a really solid racer at the lighter weight. So I don't know. I feel kind of conflicted with it. I really liked the ride. I think it's beneficial sometimes for me to kind of zone out and not think too much about the pace when I go out, and that's another 5 miles I did kind of on my own. I'm not thinking too much about anything. I'm not thinking too much about pace or anything like that. I noticed what I noticed, which wasn't a ton. It did feel a little like extra slappy. It wasn't quite as smooth on the last 5 miles there, but I don't feel like it was holding me back pace-wise or anything like that. I think that like middle pace is kind of where it's best suited, is that like for me and my running pace is that 6:30 to 8:30 range. Anything faster, the strides weren't like overly fantastic. The slow pace, the really slow pace also felt pretty good, but it was so-so on that like 9-minute pace range for me. Not quite as smooth. I think you got to be hitting in a specific spot on the shoe to make it as smooth of a ride as I was feeling at that like between 8:30 and 7:30 range, that second mile I did. So who's it for? Who's it not for? Where does it fit in your rotation? And is it worth the money? Who is it for? Somebody that wants a sick looking shoe. I mean, that is obviously super sick. So lifestyle, I think that's kind of been a spot this has shown itself to work in. I think anybody who wants the cutting edge of technology, I think this kind of Zoom unit is like voting with your dollars almost to a degree. Like, hey, I really like this cool stuff that's happening. I want to put money behind it, even if it still has some tweaking to do. Who is it not for? I think anybody with any sort of wide foot, like I remember back in the day when I worked at Fleet Feet, I would scan my foot, every once in a while, and I would always end up between like D width on average, but occasionally I would measure a little bit smaller at a C width. And it's like, well, that means I have a very standard foot in terms of width, and I still felt kind of tight in here. So if you are wide at all, definitely not going to be something I think you could do. People who are really particular with the upper, this is one I would say you probably want to try on foot first before you go and drop $220 on it. Where would it fit in your rotation? It could do a lot of stuff. It wasn't bad at the slower paces. I just don't think it's the first thing I would pull for. They're like lighter and softer, more easy feeling daily shoes for your easy stuff. And then if you want to run really fast, I think, I don't know, it would be fine in that middle range. I think that's where, okay, so when I go to pull for a shoe, it's usually because I have a specific purpose for it. I would pull for this if I was going to like a run club where I was going to run moderately hard with some friends and chat and want an interesting ride. That's kind of where I think I would purchase this shoe to live. Worth $220? I don't know. That's kind of a limited range of things you can do for $220. Now, one, you can find it on Amazon for pretty cheap, like $160-ish, I think is what I saw right before I did the video here, because I try and do research for you guys. And the other thing is, I think it would absolutely be worth $220 if it was lighter. If it felt like, if it had this softer feel that is in the heel all the way through, and if it was a little bit lighter, holy crud, I think that would be such a banging shoe. It's kind of like, with how much stack height you have here, it's almost like what I was asking for the other day, comparing the Skyward X, what was it? I was trying to say the Skyward X and the Mega Blast put together would be like a really cool shoe. So it's really light like the Mega Blast, and then has the cushiony, soft, bouncy, protective feel of the Skyward X. I think you would almost be into that vein if this were lighter, but it would have to be like 3 ounces lighter. So I don't know, that's something for the Nike team to take a look at if they wanted to. I think that would just be such a cool shoe. Maybe some of the stuff coming out, I know they've got plans for some cool stuff coming out soon, so I'm excited for that. So that kind of answers our value question. As always, if these reviews are helpful for you, you can take a look at the Ontos brand. This is the first run I've done in the Ontos tank. Holy crud, it is super good. It is as nice as any tank or any singlet I had for racing in college or post-collegiate ever. It's probably lighter than any of them. And obviously the logo is super cool. It's reflective. Same thing with the piece on the back here, still reflective. So take a look at that. Hop on the hat wait list if you dig running hats. That's always super helpful for me. If you have any questions on these shoes or where you might like to see them used, or if you have a different take on them, I'm always super keen to hear what you guys have to say. With that said, I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Happy miles. We'll see you in the next one. Take a look at one of these videos. Bye.